The rain was falling hard that evening. The streets were almost empty, except for a few cars and people rushing with umbrellas. Inside a small restaurant on the corner, the soft light glowed warmly against the wet glass windows. At a corner table sat a young woman named Maya and her little daughter. Lily. They looked tired. Their clothes were simple, a little old and damp from the rain. Maya kept looking outside, as if waiting for something or maybe someone who would never come. The smell of fresh food filled the air. Around them, people laughed, chatted, and enjoyed their dinner. But at Maya's table, there was silence. Only the small sound of Lily's spoon tapping her empty plate. Maya had ordered the cheapest meal on the menu, one small bowl of soup, and a single sandwich. She had told Lily, "We'll share it, okay?" and smiled softly. But that smile didn't reach her eyes. Her eyes were full of worry. As Lily ate slowly, Maya looked at her wallet under the table. There were only a few coins left. Her heart sank. She had been looking for work all week, walking from shop to shop. But no one wanted to hire a woman with a child. She thought, maybe we can leave before anyone notices. Maybe they won't make a scene. Her hands trembled slightly as she stood up. She helped Lily put on her small jacket. The little girl looked up, her big brown eyes innocent and trusting. "Are we going home now, Mama?" Lily asked. Maya forced a small smile. "Yes, sweetheart. We're just going." She picked up her old bag and slowly walked toward the door. Her steps were quiet, careful. Her heart beat fast. She didn't want to run, but she didn't want to stay either. Just as they reached the door, a voice stopped her. "Excuse me?" Maya froze. Her heart almost stopped beating. Slowly, she turned around. At a nearby table sat a man alone. His name was Daniel. He was in his late 30s, wearing a simple shirt, reading something on his phone before he looked up at her. But Daniel wasn't looking at Maya. He was looking at Lily. The little girl had stopped walking. Her eyes were fixed on Daniel's plate, where a half-eaten piece of warm pie sat. Daniel noticed the way Lily was staring. There was something pure and sad in her gaze. Not greed, not desire, just quiet hunger. Maya quickly whispered, "Lily, come on," and tried to pull her hand gently. But Daniel spoke again, his tone calm and kind. "Is everything all right?" Maya blinked, her throat dry. "Yes, we're fine. Thank you." Daniel's eyes moved from her to the child again. "Would you like to sit for a moment? Maybe she could finish the pie." Maya shook her head quickly. No, that's not necessary." But her voice trembled. The rain outside got louder, hitting the windows like 1,000 tiny knocks. For a second, the three of them stood in silence, the tired mother, the shrine child, and the stranger with the half-eaten pie. Daniel could see the truth written on Maya's face. She wasn't fine. She was holding herself together with pure strength. He said softly, "It's all right, please. Let her have it." Maya's lips parted as if to say something, but no words came. Lily looked up at her mother, then at the pie. Maya knelt down and whispered, "Say thank you, sweetheart." Lily nodded shyly and whispered, "Thank you, sir." Daniel smiled. "You're welcome." As Lily sat and began to eat slowly, Daniel called the waiter. "Can you bring one more plate, please?" Maya's eyes widened. "No, please, you don't have to." But Daniel gently said, "It's okay. You shouldn't leave hungry." The waiter placed another dish on the table. Maya sat down, still tense, unsure if she should stay or go. Daniel leaned back, his eyes kind but thoughtful. "It's raining too hard outside. Just wait until it stops." Maya looked out the window. The rain showed no sign of ending. She sighed softly and lowered her head. Lily smiled. For the first time that night. But Daniel couldn't stop thinking. Why was she trying to leave so quietly? The camera slowly zooms in on Maya's face. Her eyes hide a story she doesn't want anyone to know. The rain outside grew heavier. Drops rolled down the restaurant window like small rivers of glass. Inside, the quiet hum of voices filled the space. Laughter from one table, the clinking of glasses from another. But at the corner, three lives were crossing paths by fate. Maya sat stiffly across from Daniel, her hands resting on her lap. Her daughter Lily sat beside her, finishing the last piece of pie. The sweetness of the dessert brought a small smile to the little girl's face. For a moment, the world seemed kinder. Daniel watched quietly. He didn't want to make them uncomfortable, but something about them pulled at his heart. The way Maya looked down, never meeting his eyes. The way Lily held her spoon with care as if afraid the food might disappear. "You both were out in the rain?" Daniel asked softly. Maya nodded. "Yes, we were just looking for a bus." Daniel looked out the window. The streets were flooding slightly. "There won't be any buses for a while. The weather's bad." Maya gave a faint smile. "We'll manage. We always do." Something about the way she said that stayed in Daniel's mind. Calm, brave, but tired. It was the voice of someone who had fought too many silent battles. Lily suddenly spoke, her voice small but cheerful. "This pie is really good." Daniel smiled warmly. "I'm glad you like it. You know, when I was your age, I used to fight my brother for the last bite." Lily giggled softly, and for the first time, Maya looked up just a little and saw Daniel smile. There was kindness there. No pity, just warmth. The waiter came to clear the table. Daniel ordered coffee. He looked at Maya. "Would you like tea? It might help with the cold." Maya hesitated, then nodded. "Thank you." When the waiter left, Daniel leaned back in his chair. "You don't have to tell me anything, but are you okay? You looked scared when I called you." Maya froze for a second. Her fingers tightened around her bag. Then she said, "We just needed a place to sit." "I didn't mean to cause trouble." "You didn't," Daniel replied calmly. "You looked like someone who needed a bit of rest. That's all." His tone was steady, simple, not demanding, not curious, just human. Lily yawned and leaned against her mother's shoulder. Maya brushed her daughter's hair gently, her face softening. Daniel watched quietly. "She's a good kid." "Yes," Maya whispered. "She's everything I have." There was a short silence. Then Daniel said, "You remind me of someone I knew. She also used to hide her pain with a strong smile." Maya looked up, a little confused. "Who?" "My sister," Daniel said. "She passed away years ago. She was younger than me, too proud to ask for help, even when she needed it." Maya's eyes softened, a flicker of emotion crossing her face. "I'm sorry." Daniel smiled sadly. "It's okay. I just wish I'd seen her pain sooner." The tea arrived. Maya wrapped her cold hands around the warm cup. Feeling the heat slowly bring color back to her fingers, Lily had fallen asleep on her lap. Her head resting on Maya's arm, Daniel said quietly, "You don't have to walk out into the rain again. Wait until it slows down. I can call a cab for you." Maya shook her head quickly. "No, you've already done enough." Daniel paused. "Sometimes letting someone help isn't weakness, you know?" Maya didn't reply. She just stared into her tea, the steam rising like a small fog between them. For a moment, they both sat in silence, two strangers sharing a quiet understanding. Daniel finally spoke again, almost to himself. "Funny thing about life? Sometimes the people we're meant to meet just walk into our path without any warning."
Maya looked at him,
unsure what to say. She didn't know this man. She didn't know why he cared. But something in his voice sounded genuine, something she hadn't heard in a long time. The rain began to slow outside. The restaurant lights reflected softly on the wet road. Maya whispered, "Thank you." "For the food?" Daniel smiled. "Don't thank me. Just promise you'll be all right." She nodded quietly. But deep down, Daniel knew this wasn't the last time their paths would cross. As Maya lifted Lily in her arms and stepped toward the door, Daniel watched them leave. The bell above the door chimed softly, and he sat there lost in thought. He didn't know her story, but he knew one thing he wanted to find out. The rain had stopped, but the streets still shimmered with silver reflections. Maya walked fast, holding Lily in her arms. The little girl was half asleep, her small head resting on her mother's shoulder. Each step splashed softly through the puddles. Maya's clothes were damp and her heart was heavy. The kindness of that stranger, Daniel, still echoed in her mind. It had been so long since anyone had looked at her without judgment. She wanted to forget it, yet something about his calm eyes stayed with her. She reached a narrow lane, where a small, cheap room waited, the kind of place where no one asked questions, and no one cared who you were. She unlocked the door, stepped in, and laid Lily gently on the bed. The room was cold. The wallpaper peeled at the corners and the light flickered weakly. Maya sat beside her daughter, watching her sleep. Lily's small hands still clutched a napkin from the restaurant. On it, she had drawn a little heart with a red crayon. Maya smiled faintly. "You always find joy in the smallest things," she whispered. But her smile faded as old memories began to return, memories she had tried so hard to bury 2 years ago. Maya had been someone else, a cheerful young woman who dreamed of opening a small bakery. She had a husband, Ryan, who promised her the world. At first, life had seemed perfect, but promises fade faster than love when money disappears. Ryan had lost his job. He started drinking. And when words turned to shouting, Maya learned what fear felt like. She tried to stay for Lily's sake, but one night he came home angry, broke everything, and hit her for the first time that night. She took her daughter and left quietly, without looking back. Since then, life had been a long road of struggle, sleeping in shelters, working odd jobs, saving every coin, always moving so Ryan couldn't find them. Now, as she looked at Lily sleeping peacefully, Maya whispered to herself, "We're safe." For now. The next morning, sunlight peeked through the cracked window. Maya dressed quickly and decided to look for work again. She left Lily with an old woman who watched children in the building and walked to the nearby market. Hours passed. Every store she entered gave the same polite refusal. "We're not hiring, sorry. We need someone full-time." By afternoon, Maya's hopes started to fade. Her feet ached, her throat was dry, and her heart felt empty. She walked past the same restaurant from last night and froze. Through the glass window, she saw Daniel, sitting in the same seat talking to the waiter. He looked up just then and saw her standing outside. Their eyes met. For a moment, both stood still. Then Daniel smiled gently and waved her in. Maya hesitated, but something inside her told her not to run. When she entered, Daniel stood. "I was hoping I'd see you again," he said. Maya looked confused. "Why?" He shrugged lightly. "Because people don't cross paths for no reason." They sat. Daniel ordered tea again, just like last night. This time Maya didn't refuse. He said quietly, "I know you don't want pity, but you look like someone who's been carrying too much for too long." Maya stayed silent, her eyes on the table. Then slowly she began to speak, not everything, just pieces of her truth. About losing her job, about the man she had left behind, about how she just wanted a safe life for her child. Daniel listened without interrupting. No questions, no judgment. Only silence, the kind that feels safe. When she finished, Maya wiped her eyes quickly. "I'm sorry," she said. "I didn't mean to say so much." Daniel shook his head. "Don't be sorry. You needed to say it." He looked at her gently. "You know, I used to think people like you didn't exist. Strong but kind. You remind me that courage doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just keeps walking forward." For the first time in months, Maya smiled a real smile. Outside, the sun broke through the clouds, and the world looked brighter. Daniel didn't know how, but he knew her story wasn't finished, and maybe his wasn't either. The days after their second meeting passed quietly. Maya tried to focus on finding work, but every no she heard seemed to echo louder inside her heart. Each morning, she woke early, brushed Lily's hair, and told her stories about a better tomorrow. A tomorrow that still felt far away. Daniel's words from that day stayed in her mind. Courage doesn't always shout. She didn't know why those words mattered, but they gave her strength to keep moving. One afternoon, as Maya walked home from another failed job search, she saw a familiar car parked outside her building. For a second, her chest tightened, fear flashed in her eyes. But when the car door opened, it was Daniel. He stepped out holding a brown paper bag. "Hey," he said with a smile. You look like you haven't eaten all day. Ah! Maya frowned, confused but cautious. Why are you here? Daniel shrugged lightly. Because I promised myself I'd check if you were all right. I brought food. Nothing fancy. Just soup and bread. She hesitated. You shouldn't have, I know, he replied softly. But I wanted to. There was something disarming about his calmness. No pressure, no pity, just quiet care. After a long pause, Maya sighed and invited him inside. The small room looked the same as before, old walls, a single lamp and Lily's drawings taped near the window. Lily ran to the door when she saw him. Mr. Daniel, she said excitedly. He smiled, kneeling down. Hey there, artist. You still drawing hearts on napkins? Lily giggled and nodded. Mama says I should draw something nice every day. That's a good rule, Daniel said, handing her a small chocolate bar. As Lily sat on the floor happily unwrapping it, Maya poured Daniel a cup of tea. For a while, they just sat quietly, listening to the sound of the wind outside. Then Daniel said softly, You're still looking for work? Maya nodded. Yes, but no one wants someone with a child. Daniel leaned forward. I have a small bookstore near the park. It's quiet, not many customers, but it's honest work. If you'd like, you could help there. Maya froze. You're offering me a job? Yes, he said simply. You're good with people. And you could bring Lily sometimes? I don't mind. She stared at him, unsure if this was real. Why would you do that for me? You don't even know me.
Ow.
Daniel looked at her for a moment before answering. Because I know what it feels like to lose everything and start again. Maya's expression softened. You. He nodded slowly. My wife left 3 years ago. She said I cared more about work than life. I thought I was doing everything right. Until one day, I came home to an empty house. It was silence. Maya didn't know what to say. Daniel smiled faintly. Maybe helping you helps me too. Maybe it's my second chance to be better. Maya looked down, her hands trembling slightly. I don't like depending on anyone. I'm not asking you to, he said gently. I'm just offering a chance, not charity. Outside, thunder rolled softly again. Lily crawled into her mother's lap, yawning. Maya held her close. She thought about all the nights she had gone hungry, all the doors that had closed in her face. And now, one stranger was offering her a door that opened. After a long pause, she whispered, Okay, I'll try. Daniel smiled, a real warm smile. Good. You can start tomorrow. He stood up, putting on his coat. And Maya. She looked up. You don't have to run anymore. For a second, her throat tightened. Those words, simple but heavy, felt like a promise she hadn't heard in years. When he left, Maya stood by the window, watching the car disappear into the rain. She turned back to Lily, who was now asleep with a chocolate wrapper in her hand. Maya whispered to herself, Maybe life isn't done with us yet. For the first time in a long while, she believed it might be true. The next morning, the sky was clear and soft sunlight filled the streets. For the first time in months, Maya woke up with a small spark of hope. She helped Lily get ready, tied her little ponytail, and walked her to the neighbor's door before heading toward the park. Daniel's bookstore sat between a flower shop and a cafe. It was small but cozy, with tall wooden shelves and a faint smell of old paper and coffee. A bell above the door chimed gently when Maya walked in. Daniel was behind the counter, arranging some books. He looked up and smiled. You're early? Maya smiled back nervously. I didn't want to be late on my first day. He handed her a small notepad. Just help me organize the new books and keep things tidy. Customers mostly come in the afternoon. The hours passed peacefully. Maya worked quietly, dusting shelves and labeling books. The shop felt safe, like a place where time slowed down. Daniel sometimes cracked small jokes that made her laugh, though she tried to hide it. By afternoon, an old lady came in, bought 2 romance novels, complimented Maya's smile. It had been years since anyone had said something kind to her. She blushed lightly and whispered, Thank you. When evening came, Daniel brought tea for both of them. They sat by the window, watching children play in the park. Maya said softly, "It feels strange." Being calm again. Daniel looked at her. "That's a good kind of strange." She nodded. "It is." For a moment, the air felt warm, like two lonely lives finding quiet company. But peace never lasts forever. That night, when Maya returned home, she noticed the door of her small room was slightly open. Her heart stopped. She pushed it slowly. Everything inside looked untouched, except one thing, her old handbag on the bed. The zipper was open, and inside it, she saw an envelope. Her hand shook as she pulled it out. There was no name on it, just a single folded paper and a $100 bill inside. The note said, "For Lily's school. Don't refuse it." Maya's eyes widened. She knew instantly who it was from. Daniel. She sat down, confused and angry. Why would he do this? She whispered. She didn't want his money. She wanted respect. The next morning, she walked into the bookstore early, holding the envelope. Daniel was arranging new boxes of books when she said sharply, "You shouldn't have done this." He turned, confused. "What do you mean?" She placed the envelope on the counter. "This. I found it last night." "You don't have to pity me." Daniel's eyes softened. "Maya, I didn't put that there." She frowned. "Don't lie to me. You're the only one who knows where I live." He shook his head. "I swear I didn't." They stared at each other, silence heavy in the air. Then Daniel said slowly, "There's only one other person who knows where you live." Maya froze. A chill ran through her body. She whispered, "No, it can't be him." Daniel looked serious now. "Who?" She swallowed hard. "Lily's father." The thought hit her like lightning. For 2 years, she had stayed invisible, changed cities, changed names. How could he have found her? Daniel spoke gently. "Maybe it's someone else. Don't jump to fear." But Maya's hands were trembling. "He used to send notes like this. No name. Just money then. He'd show up." Daniel stepped closer. "You're safe now. I promise." That evening, he drove her and Lily to a nearby motel. "Stay here tonight," he said. "Just in case." Maya wanted to argue, but the look in his eyes stopped her. He paid the manager and handed her the keys. "It's safer here. I'll check your room tomorrow." Before she could thank him, he turned away, slipping something under the door as he left, a note that read, "You reminded me what kindness feels like." Demaya sat on the bed, holding the note with shaking fingers. The morning air was cold and silent. The bookstore door still had the sign "Closed today." Maya stood there staring at it, her heart heavy with worry and confusion. Daniel had disappeared without a word. She looked around the quiet street, hoping to see his car, his face, anything. But there was nothing, only the soft rustle of leaves and the distant hum of traffic. Maybe he just needed a break, she told herself. But deep down, unease grew inside her. She returned to the motel where Lily waited, drawing little hearts on scraps of paper. "Did Mr. Daniel come?" the little girl asked. Maya shook her head gently. "No, sweetheart. Maybe tomorrow." But tomorrow came and went. And Daniel did in single quotes too. 2 weeks passed. Maya worked part-time at the flower shop nearby, trying to save whatever she could. Life moved on slowly, quietly. Yet Daniel's absence lingered like an unfinished chapter in her mind. Every evening, she walked past the bookstore, hoping the door would open, hoping he would appear again. But the windows stayed dark until one rainy afternoon. As Maya was locking up the flower shop, a familiar car stopped near the curb. Her breath caught. It was Daniel's. He stepped out holding an umbrella, looking a little thinner but smiling the same calm smile. "Daniel," she said softly, almost not believing it. "Hey," he replied. "You didn't think I'd vanish forever, did you?" Maya's eyes filled with relief and questions. "Where were you?" he sighed. "I had to leave town for a few days. My sister was sick. I couldn't just ignore it. I wanted to tell you, but I left in a hurry." She stared at him for a moment, then smiled faintly. "You really should work on your goodbyes," he laughed. "I know. I'm bad at those." The rain picked up again, and Daniel held the umbrella over her. Come on. Let's get Lily. I have something to show you. A short drive later, they reached the bookstore. The lights were back on, and the windows looked freshly cleaned. Inside, the air smelled of new paper and fresh paint. Maya stepped in and froze. There, on the back wall, was a small sign that read, "New manager, Maya in Lily's corner." She turned to Daniel, eyes wide. "What is this?" Smiled. "You kept this place running when I wasn't around. You cared for it like it was your own. So now it is." Maya shook her head. "Daniel, I can't accept this." "Yes, you can," he said gently. "You earned it. This shop needed someone with heart, not just hands. And Lily deserves a world where her mother isn't always running." Her lips trembled as she whispered, "You don't even know what this means to me." "I do," Daniel replied softly. "Because once, I needed someone to believe in me too." Lily came running in, spinning around the shelves. "Mama, look, our name is on the wall." Maya knelt and hugged her tightly, tears finally falling. Months passed. The bookstore became a small but happy place, filled with laughter, stories, and the smell of coffee. Children came for story hours. Maya read to them, her voice calm and warm. Daniel still helped sometimes, bringing boxes of books and fixing things. But most days he just sat quietly in the corner, reading while Maya worked. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the park trees, Maya placed a cup of tea beside him. "Do you ever think about that night?" she asked softly. He looked up. "Which one?" "The night I tried to leave quietly." Daniel smiled faintly. "I do. And every time I think, if I hadn't looked up, if I hadn't seen that little girl staring at my plate, my life would still be empty." Maya smiled. "Maybe it was meant to happen." "Maybe," he said. "Or maybe kindness finds its way back when we need it most." Lily ran up then, waving a drawing, 3 stick figures holding hands under her heart. "Look, Mama, it's us." Daniel laughed softly, and Maya placed the drawing on the counter. Right beside the cash register, the camera would slowly zoom out, the small bookstore glowing under the warm evening light. Maya and Daniel laughing as Lily's voice echoed through the shelves, because sometimes the people we meet by chance are the ones who help us find home again. Asterisk.